To discuss this, I'm joined now by Christine Rufener in Brussels. She was the psychologist for Doctors Without Borders on Nauru until the organization was forced to leave the island 2 weeks ago. In the town of Hamilton in Victoria, we have Kevin Bailey. He's the state director of the Australian Conservatives, a breakaway from the ruling Liberal Party. And completing our panel from Melbourne is immigration lawyer Farhan Rehman. Farhan, let me begin with you. There are 52 kids left on Nauru. What should be done with them and about them?
Absolutely, they should be brought to Australia immediately. There is no doubt, well, there's been allegations, we should call them, of sexual abuse, rape, exchange for sexual favors for contraband, and the list goes on. In such circumstances, I don't believe there is any other further discussions of, we can talk about whether or not Australia is bound by international law and all the other discussions, but I believe clearly when there is such circumstances, these children should be brought to Australia immediately.
Kevin Bailey, the circumstances demand that these children should be taken to Australia, and if they need help, to help them. What do you think?
Australia is an extraordinarily compassionate country, and one of the things that Australians are very, very concerned about is making sure that people do get this sort of attention and support that they require. Unfortunately, we've got activists and people who've got an agenda that are prepared to lie and distort and confuse people. And I think it's quite disgusting that they use these children and they use refugees and asylum seekers as part of their pawns for their game of achieving their objective that they're looking to achieve.
Kevin, who's lying?
Who's lying? Well, the people who've got the agenda. Fundamentally, these people are on Nauru because they have wanted to come to Australia, and there is no way for them to come to Australia. If we let the people that are on the offshore detention centres come to Australia, then it's going to open the floodgates and allow many, many thousands more to come in. And of course, the people that are advising them, the lawyers and the activists that are involved in this, that's exactly what they want to see happen. They want to destroy the
certainly. I'm just trying to understand something,
Kevin. That we have.
Certainly, I'm trying to understand something. What are they lying about? Are they lying about the fact that these children need help and care?
Well, I don't know personally what they're lying about, but what has happened in the past, several months and over the last several years, is again and again we've found these accusations, and we've found these claims that people have supposedly being raped and or every criteria that you could actually use. It's like the boy who cried wolf. Every time we get concerned and we look at what's going on, Australians are just fed up to the back teeth of hearing these claims, and so often they just are proven to be unfounded and untrue.
Okay, so Kevin, when the Australian Medical Association says unequivocally that what's happening there is a humanitarian emergency requiring urgent intervention, are they making it up?
We don't know. We don't. One of the things that you've got is people that are involved there, and what's going on with the families, and these children have they're not in prison or they're not locked up anywhere. They're free to go to school. They've got medical attention there, and they've got the ability to travel around the community. What they're saying is that the Nauru, the people of Nauru are sort of so horrific that these people can't even be near the people that live there. The population of Nauru, and so one has to question why they're casting such aspersions on the local population.
Christine Rufener, our other guest, Kevin Bailey, says that there are people with an agenda who need to paint the picture as really bad for the people in Nauru, especially the children, those migrants and refugees. Is that what you saw? Is it not as bad as it seems?
I can confirm as a doctor, as a clinical psychologist who's worked in refugee contexts in different parts of the world, that what's happening in Nauru is horrific. There is an absolutely devastating mental health conditions happening, a complete, utter lack of hope for the future, and it's very serious indeed.
So Kevin Bailey, Yeah, we have Christine Rufener from MSF who was on the ground saying it's horrific. Would you accept that? She doesn't have an agenda. She doesn't want to flood Australia with refugees. She's just doing her job.
Sure. So what happens is there's no way for those children or for any refugees that have been processed not to be refugees. I don't know whether they've been confirmed as refugees. I think they come from countries like Bangladesh and Iran and a number of different countries, Pakistan. They're not fleeing violence. And so what has been known, and they knew before they came to Australia, was before they tried to come to Australia, was that there is no way known that they can enter Australia.
Hold on, Kevin.
There's 190
but hold on for a
countries
second.
around the world.
There's a couple of different arguments here, right? A couple of semantic issues here. Are you telling me that
sure.
you can make the argument to a Bangladeshi kid that, listen, your country is not at war, so you don't qualify for being a refugee, so even though you might meet a standard for being really unwell, I'm sorry, it doesn't apply to you?
What we've got is in Nauru, it's a sovereign nation. Nauru, if there's no facilities there in Nauru and they need to go somewhere else, the problem is that this mental health issue that is affecting these people for being hopeless and having no hope is that they're being told by activists that if they just keep on going to the federal court and appealing every decision and stretching it out, that they'll eventually get to Australia. The fact is that the government of Australia has said that they will not come to Australia. At the moment, the Australian government is particularly vulnerable because they're now in a minority government situation. And so these people now suddenly, coincidentally, it's come up at this time. And so, the fact that if we want to find a solution for these people, they must find another country to go to because the Australian government is not going to allow them to come into Australia.
Farhan,
they literally have to go to some other country.
Farhan Rehman, are these people being given false hope by activists who might seem to mean well, but in the long run mean them harm?
Look, I absolutely disagree with Kevin. It seems like Kevin is the lawyer here making some, remarks and assumptions about whether or not these particular refugees, which I believe have been certified as refugees, should be given protection in Australia. I think it's pretty clear to me that these people need to be brought to Australia. And you can see, as a member of as a government member, no matter what you say to the government, no matter which doctor says what, no matter what lawyer says what, it seems to me that they have one view, and that view is that these people are not coming to Australia, whether or not there are allegations of child abuse or allegations of sexual assault or rape. Nothing seems to matter. And Kevin does not seem to be talking facts. He does seem to be talking semantics. Everything that he should say should be backed up by fact. And this is the biggest problem. I believe that the Australian public have been lied to about refugees, immigration for a long time. It's been used as a means to win votes. Politics of fear. It's been going on for a fair bit of time in Australia.
Kevin, here's your chance to respond.
Sure.
Are you using politics of fear as a weapon?
Not at all. What we're saying is that Australia brings in more refugees than just about any other country of the world. We continue to bring in literally thousands and thousands of refugees every year under our refugee, the UNHCR. We're I think we're the second largest intake of refugees anywhere in the world. We're a small country with about 25 million population. By the way, I'm not a member of the government. I'm not in the government. I'm actually just a citizen. And so our policy that we're looking at as a party is saying that the government's made this policy. These people were aware of that when they attempted to come to Australia. They've been told by activists that they can keep coming to Australia, and they have to find another place. They can go back to their country of origin, or they can actually go to some other country. The Australian government at the moment is not bringing them here, and yet that's the problem, is that we are bringing refugees. We're bringing more refugees than most other countries in the world, nearly every other country other than the United States. So, it's not a case of Australia not accepting refugees. We're very generous in that regard. We always have been and will continue to be. But the fact is that these particular people cannot be settled in Australia. They could be settled in America or in New Zealand or anywhere else, but they have to be recognise the fact that the solution is not to bring these people to Australia.
Yeah,
they have to find another solution.
There's talk about New Zealand. New Zealand might want to take them, but the Australians might not let that happen unless New Zealand agrees that they can't come to Australia after New Zealand. That's going to be an interesting thing to look at down the line. Christine Rufener, I want to draw your attention to something that came from the Republic of Nauru's Twitter account. They tweeted, "Do you think the ABC, Guardian, Fairfax or other activist Australian media will ever publish these photos of the modern Nauru hospital staffed by excellent international doctors? Don't count on it because it will expose their lies and political agenda." And they use the hashtag #StopFakeNews. So, Christine, according to at least the Twitter handle, or whoever's running the Twitter handle of the Republic of Nauru, their hospital and their doctors are good enough. Is that true?
I can confirm that I spent many days going to the hospital for meetings, various activities. We actually worked out of one of the hospital containers helping the local population. When we left the island, the hospital, as I mentioned in the press conference, has no English-speaking psychiatrists. There is one psychiatrist for the island, and that person doesn't speak English. A lot of what they see in the emergency room, from what our patients have told us, are psychiatric emergencies, people who need to receive inpatient care, intensive outpatient care, and they absolutely don't have the resources, both in terms of personnel and physical resources, to manage this. There are very nice parts of the hospital that have been cleaned and are brand new. That's absolutely true. But in terms of what we saw the needs are, those cannot be met by the facilities they have.
Okay, and what's interesting, we're going to clip this up, and I guess from our Newsmakers account, we'll reply with your clip to their tweet. What is quite clear is that they have an English speaker running the Twitter account, so they would understand this. Christine, let me ask you, very frankly, Christine, I know you don't want to wade into politics, but there's a problem, and there's a big political debate regarding this. What is the humane thing to do? You've worked at close quarters with these children and with the others. What is the humane thing to do politically here?
The humane thing to do is to evacuate all asylum seekers and refugees from this island to a safe place where they have safety, security, and access to comprehensive mental health treatment.
Farhan, is that what you support?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree.
Now, tell me, Farhan, what does this say about, I mean, we've heard you and Kevin go back and forth. Kevin saying, you know, he's a member of the Conservative Party, but he's not in the government right now, even though he might be in agreement with a lot of what the Liberal Party is saying with regards to this particular issue. What does this say right now about the culture wars, if you like, within Australia right now, with regards people who want to come into Australia? Is Australia no longer a welcoming place to outsiders, in your opinion, Farhan?
No, I guess, look, Australia is a welcoming country. I don't think that we can simply negate the fact that Australia has allowed and continues to allow people to seek onshore protection. However, when it comes to this particular Nauru debate, which has been going on for years and years, and when there is clear evidence to show that there are children suffering, then I honestly believe that it's a no-brainer. I mean, I haven't even discussed the international legal obligations that the Australian government has under the Refugee Convention, or perhaps some of the duty of care that Australia may have under domestic law. I quite agree with the doctor's comments on this, that there is a moral duty as a human being to bring these children to Australia because they are not safe. It's simple as that. You know, I had a call earlier today from a cousin of mine, and his daughter, she had a seizure just a little while ago. An ambulance luckily could come to her house, pick her up and take her to the hospital. Now, if they didn't reach the hospital at a certain time, it would have been a different conversation. Maybe, you know, the child would have suffered much more, and, you know, there could have been some other issues that would have come out of it. But these people in Nauru don't have those sort of medical services. They don't have those sort of support services. They have serious mental issues. and they do need to be taken care of. And for that, I believe that we have to look into the human side of ourselves and say, well, these people need to be brought to Australia.
Okay. Farhan, Kevin, and Christine, I'd love to have you all back on the program again, but for the moment I have to move on. I thank you very much for joining us here on the Newsmakers.